And again, good morning world. It is the 31st of May 2019. It's about 9:30 in the morning UK time, and this is my global forecast for June 2019. This year has not been an easy year for hardly anyone. It's been even more difficult than I expected. And I'm sorry to say that June itself is not going to be that easy a month in certain specific areas. So, let's look at the astrology of the coming month and see what's going on. So, firstly, the new moon that's coming up shortly now on the 3rd of June at around 11 in the morning UK time. This is taking place at 12.5 degrees of Gemini, and this is not a difficult new moon. This is not making difficult aspect to any particular planet in the sky. And so consequently, I'm suggesting that early June with Mercury in Gemini and a Gemini new moon is a good time for lots of new beginnings and fresh starts. Sun, Moon and Mercury in Gemini all around the 3rd of June. Good time for new starts, initiation, launching, new beginnings. The full moon on the 17th of June at around 9:30 in the morning UK time is at 25/26 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, this is close to, but not on, galactic centre. It doesn't make aspect to any significant planet in the sky, although it will be in conjunct Mars. So it suggests to me that this represents some type of quickening and the realisation, the slow, gradual, dawning realisation that the world is so messed up at the moment that there needs to be some type of resolution or solution, and that the more we get into the second half of the year, so I expect developments to occur which will make things easier for most of us. Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn over the whole of this month. No big deal, as is Saturn. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction is 3 degrees apart at the moment, at the very start of June, and by the time we're into the end of June, it's 4.5 degrees apart and pulling away from each other. It will return with a vengeance later this year. Neptune will go retrograde this month on the solstice. More on the solstice in a bit. Jupiter is retrograde in Sagittarius. So with Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto retrograde, Neptune going retrograde, Uranus out on its own, merrily trucking forward in early Taurus. I'm beginning to really like Uranus in Taurus. I'm sure Taurians aren't, but I am. The outer planets are not a cause of concern for me. Venus starts the month in Taurus and then moves into Gemini, where it spends the majority of the month. Fine. Mercury begins the month in late Gemini and stays in Gemini for the first 4 or 5 days of the month, which is why the first few days of this month are a good time at the new moon in Gemini to launch, initiate. Look at your own personal horoscopes, and wherever you find whatever house Gemini is in, particularly late Gemini, this is a really good time for you to be starting something afresh in this area. Mercury then moves into Cancer on the 4th of June and then moves into Leo on the 27th of June. However, from the solstice onwards, Mercury enters its next retrograde shadow. Mercury will be going retrograde in early July, in early Leo, and then stepping back into Cancer, and then moving forward again back into Leo at the end of July. So we're heading into a fairly long Mercury retrograde period. This one's going to last 7 or 8 weeks in total, and it starts around the solstice. So from the solstice onwards, we're all in a position where we can't be 100% sure of the authenticity and the veracity of everything that's being said. And I'm not suggesting there's going to be lies or deceit. I am suggesting that there may be embellishments or over-exaggerations. As far as the aspects go, Jupiter retrograde is making quite a lot of aspects at the moment. All minor, but all building up to this level of background uncertainty and confusion. Jupiter is now going to be squaring Neptune as it goes retrograde around the middle of June. Jupiter is squaring and a half to Uranus at the start of June. Jupiter will be semi-sextiling Saturn, both retrograde, in early mid-June. So, yeah, again, with Jupiter retrograde in Sagittarius, a lot of embellishment and over-exaggeration. But now we come to the big one. Over the whole of June, Mars is in Cancer. Mars is a loud, fiery, feisty, dynamic, projective and assertive energy. It's warlike, aggressive and violent, as well as brave, heroic and courageous. Cancer is a shallow water sign that deals with emotions and feelings. Mars doesn't like being in Cancer. It's like a pressure cooker that can't explode. It needs to let off steam. Very good at knocking down and rebuilding kitchens. Very good at working with hot foods. During June, Mars in the sky in Cancer will pass opposite Saturn. This will occur around the 14th of June, and then Mars in the sky will oppose Pluto, and this will occur around the 20th of June. So we have Mars in the sky opposite both Saturn and Pluto within 5 or 6 days of each other. This is going to impact on a lot of people. Practically every sign of a zodiac will have a few people being affected by this, especially those born around the 10th, 11th, 12th for their respective month. But over the 14th to the 20th of June, with Mars opposite Saturn, Mars opposite Pluto, Mars opposite Saturn is very, very challenging aspect. It's about the need to, in a physical chart, in a person's chart, it's about the need to use energy so that it doesn't use you. In a global perspective, it can lead to enhanced and exaggerated confrontations around boundaries, borders, structures. Old patterns being challenged by new emerging patterns. And with Mars opposite Pluto, this is explosive. Something like this happens every 2 years for about a week. The combination of them both suggests to me that this middle period of June, 14th to the 20th of June, is likely to be explosive in a way that hopefully is literal, not physical. But I do anticipate political, environmental, economic, and even possibly military situations to suddenly escalate and get out of proportion. There will be a lot of backbiting and verbal bitching and arguments. I can't think of anything that particularly that's happening around the solstice period or the period just before solstice, apart from, of course, in Britain, where we've got the Conservative Party candidates fighting each other for the position of Prime Minister, and who would want that job at the moment. Nevertheless, 14th to the 20th of June, it's a trigger point. It's probably the most significant trigger point of 2019. There's going to be some type of action and development which could really scare a lot of people at this time. And I think the thing we all need to do collectively when this happens is to actually stop, take a deep breath, take stock and think, okay, this is not going to be as long lasting or as big as it seems to be. It's like a zit on top of a boil. It's a short, sharp, acute moment of extreme behaviour, and it will last 1 week only. So don't buy into the hype and spin. There will be a lot of hype and spin. Don't buy into any extremes of anger. Ride your way through it. This is probably the most testing time of 2019. And again, this backs up what I've been saying all along, that by the time we're into the end of July, start of August onwards, this year starts getting a hell of a lot easier. Personally, I can't wait. Catch you later, world. Bye.